Dear God, we thank you so much for the special opportunity to have us meeting at this stage of Earth history and among the many events that are happening. Uh, we feel blessed that we have the opportunity to study your word, to study your prophecy, and we very much need guidance from your Holy Spirit. Not only today, we need it uh, at every step of the way for the things that are to come, which we are hopeful and we trust that we're being taken care of. We just need strength so that we could fulfill our part in all of that and fulfill our duty. I ask you all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here, for the opportunity to uh, meet with all of you and talk about the Sunday law and the recent events. I feel very blessed, and I'm hoping this won't be a monologue, and we can each other probably give our inputs, put out our doubts or the aspects that we are still trying to understand or that we don't agree, etc. Um, so I would like to begin with some questions. Uh, so I hope all of you are open to be uh, talk and give your ideas. I would like to know from your perspective, whoever would like to speak first, I would like to hear your perspective of why are we even here at this point? I mean, the Sunday law studies in 2026, uh, like what's even going on? Where are we uh, as a movement? Who wants to go first? I might pick people randomly unless someone wants to go.
When you say why are we here, um,
Yeah,
I'm trying to get some context out of the question. Like, you mean why are we here in 2026? Why are
and
we here in the movement? Um, I'm not
and why
sure.
are we here talking about because I understand that we all know this is I don't know if I'm the first person to come this year, but we're having the Sunday Law studies. Already 2025 happened and there were studies. Uh so I would like to understand how everyone understands why are we doing it in 2026. What's exactly the I actually would like to know the context, how the way you see the context as well. Sorry to interrupt you, Linda. Go ahead.
Um, oh, it's why are we studying the Sunday law in 2026? Because we have to understand what it means for our time more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have studies, we understand waymarks, then we either focus on the following waymark and we move forward, or there's another topic, uh, but we seem to keep talking about it. And I think the topic is been around since 2024. So I'd like to have an idea how do you all see that at this point? I see a hand. Christine,
Yeah,
you want to add something?
so this is just an observance that I have, and I don't know that I'm wrong or right. I don't know that I'm right. But anyway, in 2025, there was so much coming out on the Sunday law. It seemed to me that we were in the increase of knowledge, right? But now everyone that is teaching is in unity. To me, it seems that way, right? And to me, it seems like 2026 is the formalization. But that's just my observance.
Sort of like we are settling in, so making sure we're on the same page. That would be somewhat the way you see it,
Yeah.
regardless of the words increase of knowledge, formalization.
Yes, yes, that we're all settling into the same information, into unity with each other.
I see. Thank you for that. Anyone else have something to add, an observation that they have about the period that we are in?
Can you hear me, Pedro?
I do. Hi, Elisa.
Hey. Hey. So I think understanding the Sunday law is going to inform us on close of probation because it's a magnification, it's a global, what we saw in 2024, we're going to be seeing on a global stage, per our understanding of Daniel 11, well, 41, going to Egypt, going to the world at close of probation. Um, yeah, I think that's all I've got right now.
Okay, thank you. So you're highlighting the importance of understanding the Weimar that we just passed in order to understand where we are and what's about to happen or just ahead of us whenever the COP is. So fair point. I'm not sure how all of you know or how much you know about my context uh, regarding the Sunday law. So I will give a brief summary of my experience in the process of the Sunday law. So late 2023, I was studying Acts 27. I arrived to certain conclusions in my mind, theoretical, and little by little, I was given the opportunity to share it with local groups. My initial conclusion was that the Sunday law would be 2025. As I continued studied, I refined it to say that it would be January, specifically the inauguration. As I enter into the year 2024, I also came to know that there were more than one idea about the date of the Sunday law. So it became clear to me that either we were really about to enter into the Sunday law, or we just had passed it just based on the premise that we were talking about it. That was my initial thoughts. I thought it would be January, but then I started hearing the other theories, the other ideas, and I was always open-minded. So as the year goes by, at some point we get to the International Camp meeting in France, 2024. And I think that's the real point in which it became clear that the message about the Sunday law being July from Elder Terry wasn't the only view out there, as it is easy to understand. I was only sharing it within local groups in my region. So it wasn't something that it was even available in English. So it would be understandable that other people didn't know. So I was given the opportunity right before the elections that I thought would be very important in the development of my theory about the Sunday law. And right after the election, it became clear that it wasn't only Elder Terry who had an idea about the Sunday law and the date, or me. Then there was Aaron, and then there was other people. So that started off what has been called the Sunday Law Initiative, which is this process that I think is pretty unique in our experience as a movement, which is, let's sit down and try to understand what's going on, what's the way we should see things, how are we interpreting symbols. I didn't participate in most of the Sunday Law Initiative, either giving the studies or what later was the internal meetings that the 5 speakers were having. But at the very end of it, for whatever reason, doesn't matter, I was included. So I was given the opportunity to catch up, get understanding of where they were, and it all seemed to arrive to a climax at the last ICM, which would be 2025, also in France, where we I think most of the questions about why would be the Sunday law in the first place not a law, then why would it be something related to the election? It was called election cycle just to keep it open and not determining when, or the election in November, or the moment when the transition from one president to another happens in January, or when the candidates are formally candidates for the presidency, when their parties nominate them, etc. So it was called the election cycle. Why would be the Sunday law that? And we seem to arrive to a consensus that it was correct. The initial prediction from Elder Terry about July 18th. So that happened October last year. I was able to see the points where I was wrong or where I misinterpreted things, but also even more witnesses, specifically from Revelation 17, how we would be able to see using Revelation, not some story about Pyrrhus or Quintus, or even the witnesses that I was trying to use for my initial prediction of 2025. How can we actually prove it using Daniel and Revelation? And that's when Revelation 17 plays a big role. And so the way I understand things is that we as a movement, we tend to, not as a movement, we as an individuals within the movement, we are in this process of, we could call it maturity, getting to know better our duty, who God is, what's their character, what's our mission, prophecy, etc. And as we grow, we also know better how to deal with differences in views, how to sit down and talk about them. How do we actually arrive to conclusions, refine the way that we use the methodology? And since the last ICM, when it was said that Revelation 17 is the ultimate proof for July 18th, 2024 as the Sunday law, it leaves a lot of unanswered questions or details that need to be fine-tuned or refined or make sure that everyone is in the same page. So that's how I understand the current process that we are in, which is talking about this. I come to this initiative with my own baggage, being the experience that I had about having one view, having to see where it was wrong, and how can I now be sure that it is the other thing, the other date, the other waymark, etc., or the other point in history, etc. So that would be my overview of my experience. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions, or any follow-up comment? from what I said.
I also remember somebody, maybe it was Curtis or I don't remember, mentioning that if we didn't get our information about Sunday law right, we wouldn't understand the next waymark as a reason to look a little deeper into all of that.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah. And I guess when we get to the COP and we know what it is, we're going to say the same thing. We need to fully grasp this so that we can then understand the next one. And that's the big one, right? The second coming.
Yeah.
Which it seems we're very, very close. Okay. Another thing that I want to know, I've done this for the other 6 or 7 groups that have been already. I would like to know any open questions that people have about how we or how the teachers are proving the waymark of the Sunday law, the witnesses that are being used, Revelation 17. It is for the sake of us, finding those places where we either simply don't agree or we would like to know a better explanation why it was used that way, why that witness proved that or not. How any of you feel about that? We like to talk about, I would like to talk about how everyone understands the proof that are being used. Let me pick someone. I see Eva, but the mic is not on. So let me know if you are able to give some input. Troy, would you like to say something? We have Susan.
Pablo,
Hey, who's this? Hello.
this is Susan.
This is Susan.
Is it Sabbath for you yet?
It is.
Happy Sabbath, Pablo.
Thank you.
I had my swamp cooler repaired and the guys just left, so I just tuned in and I wanted to be here at 4. So unfortunately, I just got here when you asked that question and I have no idea what you've, laid out prior to that question.
Okay. I gave a brief summary of my experience in the whole process of the Sunday law, being someone who had an idea, came about the moment when I understood what was wrong and was also given the opportunity to study the different other ways to prove the Sunday law, then specifically Revelation 17. That all happened at the ICM last year, and now I understand the speakers are trying to make sure we are all on the same page, the questions are answered. Not only that the more we examine that waymark, people have said already, that prepares us to understand better the COP as well, or what we call the next waymark.
Which
So,
would also, and I'm hoping you're addressing that to me. I know to everybody, but since you gave a summary, I'm thinking that now you might want a response. And am I correct? Do you want a
yeah,
response? Okay.
yes.
So I'll tell you, I'm one of those that just cannot seem to accept that July 18th is a Sunday law. I will go along with it because I don't want to, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to deliberately be an outlier. But to be honest with you, I see it, I can see what Elder Terry was showing, but I see it more like the image being set up, not the actual Sunday law. For me, it seems that America had to elect it in. And the reason I say that is because Elder Parmenter also gave a lot of studies prior saying that we should do everything within our ability to prevent the Sunday law from happening. And what can we do within our ability other than, share with people what we know if they're open to it, but vote, because especially here in the United States. And a lot of people, independent journalists, are now even saying that they don't even believe the elections are going to happen, not even these, primaries. And even the primaries are being goofed around with. And she said she thought, this one person I listened to said she thought that 2024, the election, November, what was it, 5th, was the last chance, that we've missed the boat now. And even when she said that we've missed the boat, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I just and people are leaning that way, even to realize that they elected in Trump, and now there's no undoing. And we can even say we saw it even in 2016, because we know that was Ipsos, and we know there was no turning back from 2016. And right, I
Yep.
feel like Elder Tess had said that was kind of like the domino that's going to spin off everything, right? Hit every other domino
Yeah.
following. And we can see that he did everything. He set up almost everything he could, except he had a lot of people still within the Republican Party who were fighting against him, which he finally got out for this term. But yeah, I still think that the people had to elect it. They had to choose that form of government. And just like in heaven, they had to choose their form of government. So that is kind of, like I said, I just can't see that the Republican convention was all the American people. It wasn't still. People were still having a chance to see what the Republican Party was offering, and also what the Democratic Party was offering. And anyhow, and I loved your study of the four anchors. I was one of those that thought it was a really interesting study. Wish you had have continued on, but I know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And yeah, I guess that's all I can really say at this moment. At least you know where I stand.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being so straightforward. You use the word, I don't want to be the difficult one, or I think you said outlier. I wondered if I was the difficult one, because I also had a different view, and I had to struggle with that. Am I being just too difficult to convince, or am I just being loyal to my conscience and I'm expecting to see things with my own eyes? And I'm not talking about like Andrew when he said, Jesus, I want to see the holes in your hands, etc., and the wounds. I'm talking about the intellectual uh, part where we need to see it for ourselves. And that's
Yes.
exactly what I waited for. And that's
And
the
seen it?
only,
You've seen it?
sorry.
You've seen it now?
And yeah, I've seen it. I've
You can
seen it.
straighten me out, maybe.
Well, I will give you the way that I see it, because that's this is the way I see it. I'm here because I'm gonna give you the way that I see things. It worked for me. Um, but before I do that, I wanna, you gave some reasons that gives you certain expectations about the Sunday law having to, having to be November, etc. And they sound all nice because all the things that you said are true in terms of the logical steps that need to happen for someone to really be in power and then do stuff with it. In my mind, if I go to Pedro before the ICM, the way that I was being loyal with my conscience and my own prophetic framework that I had actually was that I knew the Sunday law had to do with the arrival of the seventh kingdom. We will get a little bit into that now, which is a very interesting, different way that we now define the Sunday law. Seventh-day Adventists never did that before. The arrival of the seventh kingdom. That sounds interesting. So I knew that, and I knew that each of the views, July, November, January, they all had in common the same thing. It was the arrival of this kingdom. We were just determining its arrival at different points in time within the same election cycle. And when someone would tell me, well, it had to be the people who voted him in, and all the different things that go along with November, I would then jump to January and I would say, yeah, but until he doesn't have the power, he wasn't really certified, inaugurated. He's actually not even using the power. How can we call it Sunday law? So I would give my own reasons why I would actually
Yeah.
move it forward to January.
It fits. Everything you're saying is things that I've tossed around in my mind also.
Exactly. So once we get to that point, we have to decide, how do we actually determine because it seems to me that we are either trying to decide what's the earliest point we can say whatever that entity is that comes in and changes the prophetic landscape, and we say seventh kingdom is here. What is it exactly that we're trying to decide? Are we trying to decide the first moment? Are we trying to decide the moment when it is unstoppable? Are we trying to decide when it is formally, legally the new presidency? Those kind of things we need to juggle with and say which one it is. And that's the moment when we have to we must know. We need a source of truth. According to my own interpretations, I had a source of truth. I'm not here to talk about what now I understand from Acts 27 I might study, because that's not the purpose. But before, with the views that I had, that's what I was using. My source of truth is this logic that I had pointed me to January. And then I would interpret reality based on my source of truth. And I would say, yes, January makes sense because of this and this and this things that I just said. It is a plausible date for the beginning of this new kingdom that is going to rule the world. If we go then to any of the other two, November, July, those had to be based in some source of truth. Why? Because it's not when we decide. We're basing our assumptions from something. And that's when we have to think, carefully, which source of truth are we choosing? And I came to understand that I was using Acts 27, for example, as my source of truth. But then, let's say I wasn't a person with January. Let's say I was with, I don't know, November, because Ellen White says that the Sunday law is actually something that the people asked for. I think that's a paraphrase. But we as Adventists, we know that, like, she would say things like the people asked for it. And then we would immediately transfer that to the election, because there has to be some element of the people deciding for that. So what I want to argue is that both Ellen White or Acts 27 are bad source of truth, just to begin with. And the reason for that is that the actual books that were created to understand prophecy and politics, we know, because we are movement people, like the Adventists, they were raised with this special chapter and verse, Daniel 8:14, and the 2300 days. That would be the Millerites. We are these special people that were raised with Daniel, not 8, but 11, verse 40 onward. So we have all the elements of the people of God, and it seems to always come to the same book, which is Daniel, which we know Daniel and Revelation are the same book. So we are supposed to be using Daniel and Revelation to interpret our prophetic ideas, to prove them, etc. And then we, of course, can have models taken from maybe chapters that are historic, like Acts 27, has nothing to do with prophecy, but we turn it into. That's different with Daniel and Revelation. We didn't turn Daniel and Revelation into prophetic books. They were designed to be used that way. So I will share my screen quickly. I know we have limited time, so let's try to make the most of it. Feel free to interrupt me at any moment. So where I want to go is the following. Let's basically use first a chapter that we're very familiar with, which is Revelation 13, beginning with verse 11, and the second beast, the one that comes from the earth. We know this beast is in its most basic nature, a beast that has two faces. It would go through the face of the lamb, and then it would become a dragon. That's what we know. So the way that we would define the Sunday law to be using the chapter 13, we would put a waymark in the middle. We would say this is Sunday law, and it's basically that this beast was a lamb. It ceased from being a lamb, whatever that means, because the lamb died or something happened to it. But now, in the same territory that the lamb used to rule, we're going to have another thing called the dragon. And what we are defining the Sunday law to be is the moment of transition. Whatever that point is, that would be up to us to decide when it is. Someone would say, I think it's 1989. Someone might say, I think it's 2001 with the Patriot Act or whatever. Or someone might say, any other date. That's when we know, we need a little bit more in order to decide when is the moment that this beast, this kingdom that is ruling in the territory of the USA, it stops from being a lamb, and now it's a totally different kingdom. It's called the dragon, all within the same territory. This concept is not new at all for us. We would go, this is Revelation 13. But if I go to Daniel, our favorite chapter, Daniel 11, and I do the same thing, and I put a Sunday law here, and I say, oops, this is verse 40. Sorry, no, that's 40, 41. What are we saying? Well, we're talking about I don't know, kingdom, an entity, someone called the King of the North, who's been conquering. It formerly did conquer someone called the King of the South. That's all fine. but then it comes to the point where it conquers the glorious land. So this glorious land is going to be taken by the king of the north. And we are saying the Sunday law is the moment when that king of the north enters into the glorious land. And again, we will have the same type of question. How do we determine when it entered? We would need to define what is the king of the north, and we would have to define what is the glorious land. We have, for ages now, understood that to be the USA. Adventists, they don't have actually much to say about Daniel 11, but they were start off already not having a clear idea what the glorious land is. But they might certainly say, because it's not only about the glorious land, it's also about this entity called the king of the north, who enters at that moment as well. Well, that person, we need to define what the king of the north is. And something interesting that happened to us is that by our very inheritance, we would be forced to say that the king of the north is the papacy. But we went through our own development of, different truths, and we came to understand that it cannot be the papacy. That's like from 2018, since Elder Test came along, we started developing that understanding. But it doesn't seem to be fully clear today exactly what is the king of the north. But we kind of said, well, it have to be the United States. Then we have the confusion about, and how is it that the United States conquers itself? Is it really the United States? Is it the government of the United States? It's someone within it. I don't want to go there. I want to go now to another story that also gives us the possibility to have a visual view of the Sunday law. So I would put Sunday law again. This would be Revelation 17. That turning point in the middle is the Sunday law. And the way we would define it now, it's the 6, it's on the left side, and the 7th is to the right. And we would say, well, the Sunday law is the point of transition from one kingdom to the other. And I believe up until here, we all agree with that, that it is the point of transition. But as I was talking to Susan, we may not have the same exact point of transition. We already decided it has to be the 2024 election cycle. But was it when the president fully was given the power to use it in January? Was it when he was legally elected to take the office? Or what was also said by Elder Terry, that it was when he was given the candidacy or the nomination to be the Republican candidate for the presidency. Each three has, they have value, they have something to say, they highlight a different story, even though it's within the same thing. But we're still in need of what is our source of truth, and which of the stories that we have for the Sunday law, and I just put 3 of them, each of them in the book that we are supposed to do it, which is Daniel and Revelation, which is the same book. We will now need to examine each of the 3 and say, maybe one of these 3 stories has the amount of elements, the right amount of symbols to be defined that would actually give us an idea of what and when is the moment that we can say this is the Sunday law. So without going into detail, I already can see that 11 and 13, they might be a little bit complicated because they just say one conquers the other. That would be Daniel 11. But 13, which is a whole different parable, highlighting a totally different thing, it's saying that it is a territory that was ruled by a lamb, but something happened to it. It became a dragon. I don't know. It died or something happened. And now it's a dragon that's ruling. We can see the compare and contrast with Daniel 11. There's no one actually conquering anyone in Revelation 13. There seems to be some sort of transformation. But I would say that we still lack certain elements and details that could allow us to, in application, by application I mean in real life, find the answers for that moment and what it is, January, November, July, or any other point. So let's talk about Revelation 17 a little bit. I will be jumping ahead a lot of things that I think we mostly agree or are familiar with. At this point, is there any question or comment before I continue?
Pedro,
Hello.
this is Manuel.
Hey, Manuel.
I have several questions, but I'm not gonna burden your this presentation with all of them. But I
Okay.
want to know specifically what you got from Revelation 17 that settled you on the Sunday law being a point, because July 17 is a point, and the reference that we have in the past in the history is that 538 is a Sunday law, but that is if we consider 538 as a waymark, not as a period. I mean, do you follow me?
Not quite.
Yes, because if July 18 is not a period, it's a point. And the Sunday law is a period. So July 17 has to be either a starting point of the Sunday law or the end of the period. So there has to be a beginning, a frame, an interval of time. And that's what I want
Okay.
to know, what you got from Revelation 17 that makes you believe that July 18 is the Sunday law.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I should have started with that. I think we are all familiar with the time of the end. Do you know, Manuel, what we usually say as the time of the end is?
Yeah, 1798.
But
But
are you
it,
familiar that
it,
we
it,
also say it's actually
it,
a whole period?
1989. Oh, I'm sorry. What else did you say it is?
You remember that sometimes we say we are living in the time of the end.
Yes.
So there is this concept of point and a period. So
Mm.
just to say that, yes, the Sunday law is a period. This whole period is the Sunday law. But whatever is the starting point of that period, we also call the Sunday law. The same way we do with the
Exactly.
time of the end. So we're living in the time of the end since 1798, where we choose when it began. And
Yes.
that
Now,
becomes the waymark.
Pedro, you have to agree that when we talk about 538 as the Sunday law, and then we have to have a parallel point in our time that is equivalent to 538,
That's true.
right? And we mark 538 to 1798 as the time of trouble, as the time of the church, the Thyatira. Thyatira.
Yeah. That
Now,
would be
the same has to happen in our time when we enter into the Sunday law. Now, what gives you now the certainty that not that I have any doubts about it, because I accepted that truth from the very beginning. I didn't I didn't what is the word that I didn't divorce the Bible from history. I didn't require that term has to be a biblical term in order to have a meaning. You know the Quintus Fabius Quintus Maximus Gorgias. I
mhm.
I didn't put pressure on the presenter or anything like that, because that was something that originally was presented by Elder Tess, and then Elder Terry took over and explained every single meaning of the whole name, and so I was satisfied with that. But then uh, what I heard is because that term was not biblical, it couldn't be used. But uh, now, as I am insisting in like for example, the people that comes to the understanding that 418, I mean that July 18 is the Sunday law, and they are getting this assurance from Revelation 17 specifically. I love to see why you were convicted that from Revelation 17 that July 18 is the Sunday law.
Okay. Well, that's what I will try to do
Mm-hmm.
if I have enough time. Uh, but thank you for that input. And we need to make sure why we get to the Sunday law using Revelation 17. So the first thing, as I said, is we have this premise that is, in my opinion, correct. I think most people agree. The Sunday law is a period of time. This period of time is characterized by the rule of the seventh kingdom. And what we call the Sunday law waymark would be, when do we start it? And I'm suggesting that, actually, I think you said, Manuel, that at the beginning, Quintus Fabius Maximus Gorgias and the definition that were given to you were enough. Where I'm at, or where I was when I was given the definitions, is I didn't feel it was enough. I wasn't saying that it was incorrect. I was just not able to see how it proved it. So I stayed open-minded. and hoped that I would be able to answer my questions or someone would answer my questions. And I'm telling the story of how then Revelation 17 came to my attention as being the way to prove that it was actually July 18th and that Quintus Maximus Gurgis actually was correct. So if you see it in my own view, it's like I was using Acts 27 to arrive to a different point, and Leteri was using the story of Pyrrhus to arrive to a different point. And I was like, well, which of the two is the legitimate one? And then it comes to my attention, well, we actually should be using it. We should be proving this using Daniel and or Revelation. And then Revelation 17 seems to be a proper place to do it. So I'm trying to explain why I think that is. So Revelation 17, we know it talks about several kingdoms, 1 to 7, but we're going to highlight 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are the last two. We are told in Revelation 17 that there was actually a moment in time where the beast of Revelation 17 was alive. At some point, it says that it is not, and then it says that it will be. So Revelation 17 has this symbol. I'm going to make this ugly beast. I'm not going to do 7 heads. And the beast has someone riding it. And that's basically one of the primary symbols that are given to us in Revelation 17. And we basically go and say, okay, this is the beast with the woman on top that is, I don't know, ruling the world, killing people, doing bad things, etc. And we go to Revelation 17, and we're basically said in a very interesting statement the following. It says, and the beast was, but the beast is not in the present tense, but it will be. So there's a past, present, and future. We know that we spend a lot of time defining when the present is. Since the time of Elder Jeff, that was something that we used to talk about. And we all came to the conclusion that the present is the 6. So it's basically the following. Kingdoms 1 to 5, that's what's been called it was. So that's the past. So I would say that's the past. And that is a period of time when the beast was. Was meaning it was there. I could say it was alive. So it was. Then there's a moment in time when it is not. And we're going to highlight it as the present and is not. And then at some point in the future, it says, and it will be again. That's not the exact words, but I know we'll understand that. So past, present, future, and I would say it will be. So the framework seems to be very simple. We have 7 kingdoms. The last one is very easy to define because it's the last one. It's when it says it will be again. So that is the 7th kingdom will be assigned the terminology of this is the coming back. This is the return of whatever that used to be for a long time, but for a period of time it was not, and then it came back. The 7th would be the coming back. So that's the coming back. Then we have the present when we know it is not, and then the other 5, the first 5, it's when it was. So it's like saying this beast and woman had glory days from 1 to 5. Something happened, I don't know, an anomaly, whatever that is, something prevented to be during the 6th, and now it will be again in the 7th. And this is when we start trying to unpack Revelation, what's going on. We know it makes sense because we have, for example, Revelation 13, I would say, oh, it makes sense. The 6th is a period of a kingdom that's actually good for whatever reason, but that's what the Bible is trying to say because it calls it a lamb. So we go with that. And now we have certain ideas of, yes, the 6th seems to be a proper place to not have this beast and woman. Like when it says the beast is not, it makes sense because it's also the ruling of the lamb. But then when the lamb becomes a dragon, and that is the 7th, it makes sense that it would be the moment in time where this beast comes back again to life. So up until this point, it makes sense to us. But when we look a little bit more closely, I don't know what happened. This is a side note. With the iOS updates, I used to be able to open my Bible in the right hand corner, and I cannot. But if you could bear with me while I open Revelation 17 and you do the same on your side. Let's just read some verses from Revelation 17. It says, let's go to Revelation 17:3. It says, I just realized I had it open in Spanish. Now, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit of the wilderness, into the wilderness. Sorry. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. So that's the symbol. This beast carries a woman. We as students of prophecy are very used to see beasts all the way back till the times of Daniel. So we know that has to be kingdoms, some political powers, superpowers of the world. But we are given a strange symbol, which is the woman. And we've accepted it. We had views about it, especially if we come from Adventism, we would say, yes, that would be the woman that was riding the beast during the papacy. The papacy is the woman, etc. But then we know the heads, we know that there are different dispensations, and we need to be able to apply that to today because whatever that woman and beast is, it says that it is not during the 6th, but it will be again in the 7th. So we're trying to define that. And I hope you can agree that when you see kingdoms from 1 to 5, that is the woman and the beast. It's a bad entity or power that is ruling the world. At 6, it is not. And at 7, it will be again. So let's unpack the symbol woman and beast because it is two things. So we go and we say, this is the beast. And we have the woman. And we try to simply go to the most basic explanation of what each of these words mean. So, what is a beast? I'm not talking about prophetically. I want to go to the natural, which is what the Bible is trying to lead us to, so that we understand why the word beast is being used. We need to know what it is. So someone said an animal. Thank you. I think that was Troy. And a beast, in its most basic terms, it's an animal who wants to have a go with a woman
The human.
Human. So we have animal and human. And then the symbol makes sense to us because we are, someone said person. Yes, that one's good as well. In the real world, humans sit on animals. Is it? What kind of animals do we sit upon? And cats and dogs are not valid because that is not real thing. Even if you could do it, it's not about the ability of doing it. It's about if it's really a real life symbol relevant to human life. And then this is the point when everyone says, well, horses, of course. Who wants to have a go? What other animals do we sit upon? Penny?
Camels, elephants.
Camels, elephants,
Donkey.
donkeys. Oh, you did, Christine. So there's various animals that we sit upon, and this is the moment when we know, okay, the symbol is talking about the relationship that we have with an animal, but it's not all the different types of relationship that we can have with animals. This is the type of relationship where humans sit upon them. Not any animal is useful, but certainly some are. And I would call that relationship. Relationship determines that it is two things working together. Why does this relationship in real life even exist? Anyone have an idea?
We use animals to help with with our burdens, to make our jobs easier.
To make our jobs easier? And why is it that they're able to actually make our jobs easier?
Because they're physically stronger.
Because they're physically stronger. Thank you. Someone, I need to open the chat because I noticed. Let me go. Human person, one serves the other. Humans are smarter. Okay, so you tell us, you just told us that the animal is strong physically, but then David is saying that the human is the smarter. Would an animal by themselves just go and pick a person to ride them? No, only humans do that. Like the the interest of having that relationship is coming from one of the two entities. In this case, the human. Uh, Either because the human has certain purposes, he wants to conquer kingdoms, he wants to arrive faster to different locations, he wants to go to war and kill more efficiently, whatever that is. Humans, when they control animals, is not because the animal either wanted it or even looked for that idea. They're actually almost a vessel that the person uses. And that is basically what the symbol is trying to portray. This is a woman, is riding a beast. The beast is useful. Whatever that usefulness comes about, it has to do because it is strong, not about muscle, but something else. So that's why part of the endeavor that was seen in the ICM was trying to define each of the symbols. And I know I'm leaving out one of those symbols, which is the heads, because that beast actually doesn't have just one head, it had seven. But we know it is basically an extension of the beast. The beast is seven heads, trying to tell us that there's seven periods. And when we try to be totally literal with the symbols, we know there's some things that would not make sense if we stretch the symbols too, too far or whatever. I could ask a question that would basically break this. For example, It says, okay, there's a beast, there's a woman on top, but that beast has 7 heads, and you're telling me the 7 heads are 7 different dispensations. How is it that the 6 is when the beast is dead? The 6, remember, 6 is the 6th head. We became so used to say, no, it's actually a 6 period of time in the human kingdoms. No, it's actually a 6th head. So how is it that the head is there, but the beast is not? So we could try to spend time unpacking that. But if we just go to the simplest explanation possible, and I ask you, you understand that Revelation 17 is saying, there is a beast that was, is not, and will be. But at the same time, that beast has 7 heads, and all of them are periods of time, and the 6 has to have a head. But it says that the beast is not. Given what we just talked about, that this is actually the relationship of the woman and the beast, in your own words, how do you picture the fact that the 6, that's actually a head, is a moment in time that it says the beast is not? How do you understand that? How would you explain it to yourself?
Hello?
Yes, Mary?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi. So can we say that the 6th, the woman, because the woman seems to be the defining feature here. So in that relationship, the 6th, the woman is not having a relationship with the 6th. So there is
Thank
no
you, Mary.
relationship going on there between the two.
Exactly. And at that point, that beast is not even qualified to be called a beast, because it's like the symbol that we were given is the full package. It is the woman and the beast. And if we use the literal, and we have to, I don't know in English, what's it called? The person that's on top of horses? Sorry? Joke?
Jockey?
What's that?
The jockey?
The jockey? So we know that when whatever that is, horse, elephant, if the jockey is not there, it's like the animal is not there. It's not going to attack you. It would likely just go away to nature, whatever. What I'm trying to say is that the package of the symbol is that it is a big deal because a woman is on top of the beast. That is different to what we see in Daniel, when the beast is all alone and it is a lion, a bear, whatever. This time it's a beast, undefined what animal it is, but it has 7 heads. And when it gives us the symbol of a human on top, it's already telling us this powerful beast is doing anything just because it has someone on top of it, controlling it, using it. So that is the logical conclusion. I would picture something that is not very much correct, because I should say that this is a head, terrible head, and it is the 6. But for the sake of the visual understanding, I will make a beast right here without the woman. Like it is still there because there has to be a 6th head. The only thing that makes it different is that the woman is not there. Therefore, if I zoom in into the Sunday law, we suddenly find that Revelation 17, it's telling us, similarly to the other chapters, which is the Sunday law, it's when the glorious line is taken. The Sunday law is when the lamb ceases to be, and then there's a dragon, whatever the transition is. We don't really know what that is. Then we go to Revelation 17. Yeah, the Sunday law is when the 6th ends and the 7th begins. Hey, not so quick. You're actually telling me that the Sunday law, it's when the woman comes to the scene again. That's the moment in time when you say, okay, I think if we are able to define what the beast is and what the woman is, depending on what conclusion we arrive to, when we get the definition, by definition, I don't mean now the vague definitions. I mean the real life application, because it has to be something today. We might get closer to the moment in time where we define, well, the woman seated upon the beast, again, at whatever point we will have to define. I hope you would allow me to jump ahead and give the definitions on woman and beast without spending time proving it. Someone just asked. Oh, no. So we have the beast, we have the woman. The beast was always one of the clearest pictures, because we knew it has to be some sort of political power, something that has the amount of power that this bad entity called the woman, it's always going after for. And once it gets it back at the seventh dispensation, it is called the seventh dispensation, like perfection. This is the moment in time where that full, picture of the whatever kingdom Satan wanted, it is the perfection when the woman comes back. So it was discussed what the beast might be. At the ICM, you might have heard that it is a political institution with power. And we know that a beast is a beast in Revelation 17 because it has the woman. So that's why it was also said with power that adopted, I'm going to skip that, or is being controlled, however you want to see it, the ideology of the woman. That's what a beast is. In application, this has been defined using all the other 5 kingdoms of the past, that the beast has to be the throne. That is what the woman in the other 5 kingdoms has always been running after. She wants a specific type of power that is only found in the seat of government. In the first 5, they were monarchies. But since we get to the 6th kingdom, the United States, it's not a monarchy, but it still has a throne. It still has this institution where power resides, and where the most important decisions domestically and internationally are made. So it is not very difficult to arrive to say that the beast is not the whole government, is not Congress, is not the justices, is not even just the executive, because it's really big. The throne that the woman is after, the thing that she needs, is the actual office of the president. So I'm going to call it the office. Is it, I don't know, the Oval Office. We don't mean this to be the actual building, because tomorrow, if something happened, they would have another building. But the institution, which is actually a non-physical thing, would still be there. And whoever has the office has the power. Any questions so far?
Yes, Pedro.
Yep.
We're talking about the beast. Is there any? Can we make any differentiations between the beast and the king of the north? Because what I see here is that that the woman is preserved alive because it's going to be punished,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the king of the north is dead in the during the sixth kingdom. Now, in 1989, who was the king of the north?
Well, man, I'm gonna stop you there because those are all good questions that actually are immediate results of having understanding of this. And I notice how you quickly say, well, the beast must be the king of the north. Why not the woman? How do we know the entity called the woman isn't that actual king of the north that is trying to whatever, rule the world in Daniel 11? I'm just leaving it as an open question. We're not going there. We're skipping that, but that is the ramifications of studying deeply uh, the books of Daniel and Revelation, especially a chapter not only so complex, but so packed with elements that gives us this ability to, if we decode what the woman is, what the beast is, they got separated, but at some point they will join again. And that might have just be the clue to find out when did they join. So it is being taught that the beast is simply the Oval Office. Understand beast also as being the head being each of the dispensations, and the six is the sixth head that is the Oval Office of the nation called the USA, the most powerful office in the world. It makes sense for this woman to want that specific office. She can launch war, do anything depending on how she uses it, right? So it is a very powerful office. That's what will be defined as the beast slash head. I don't want to get us confused between the two terms. They are useful to have it separated, but I'm sorry that I'm mixing it just for sake of time. Then the woman becomes the tricky element to find out. Because, for example, like Adventists, we would say, yeah, it has to be the papacy. And they're actually still waiting for it, some sort of deal with the papacy who behind the scenes is going to control the United States. The idea, the setup is still the same. A power that goes and uses another one. But we know it's not the papacy, and we need to find what the woman is. I'm sure many of you have heard the suggestions of what the woman is as being, well, basically based on the symbol, we know it has to be human entity that, because it has ideas of its own, not like an animal, or at least not in the same way, this human is able to use it for its own means. So that definition of that was given at the ICM, it's an entity with an ideology. It's totally based on the natural. That's what it is. A human that's using an animal like a horse, it's someone with agency, ideas of its own, and then whatever. So that would be the woman. And something that could be done using some of the other kingdoms, like 1 to 5, it's find out in those other kingdoms what the woman was, because it wasn't always the papacy. The papacy was the woman during Kingdom 5. But who was it in Kingdom 4? There was no church, there was no papacy, neither in the other kingdoms. So it is easily proven and for sake of time, I'm not doing it because I want to try to advance as much as possible with Revelation 17, is that the woman, in many of the other instances, were the actual person who controlled the throne of those kingdoms. For example, Nebuchadnezzar is a good example of a woman who had ideas of its own and wanted to do his own will. And at some point, he almost killed all of the, was it the leaders of the religion because they couldn't interpret his dreams. But then Daniel did it. But once Daniel finally gave the answer of the dreams, he didn't like it. And he said, no, I'm going to actually make a statue of gold from top to bottom because I'm going to stay here forever, giving us ideas of Gadal that are very relevant in Daniel. So it is very easy to see that the people that seated on the throne of Babylon and even the other kingdoms, they were the actual entity that had ideas, bad ideas, that wanted to go after kingdoms, after people, persecuting God's people, all the things that they did, not all bad. Some people who seated on those thrones were actually good people. A good example of that is the Persians with Cyrus and the way that they helped the people of God, etc. So that's how we jumped and we say, well, the entity with ideology today that wants to control the Oval Office is, and before I say it, I would like to know, what have you thought the woman is, the entity with ideology, before saying it? And I know we have only 3 minutes left. I don't know if we are finishing here or just stopping and coming back later. How is it going to be?
Well, if we can take a break for a short 5 minutes, if that's enough time, and then come back and finish, if that's okay.
However is okay with all of you. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm sorry about that. But I can do 5, definitely, and then we reconvene.
Okay. All
Okay.
right, so we'll go ahead and is this a good place to stop, Pedro?